What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Everything Octagon. UFC Vegas 89 just wrapped up this past weekend, and we're going to be going over the entire card, starting from the early prelims all the way up to the main card. But first, I just wanted to ask you guys all to subscribe if you haven't, to hit that thumbs up button, and hit me up in the comments with anything you can think of, any questions from the recap show, and it really helps me out on YouTube, guys. I got 66 subscribers. I need 100 before I can shave, so it's getting pretty scraggly. Really need you guys to hit that subscribe button so I can shave this face. But anyways, the first fight was in the heavyweight division. First fight on the early prelims was Muhammad Usman versus Mick Parkin. I thought this fight should have been a little higher up the card, so I actually did a predictions video about it. I predicted Parkins to win by KO. Well, not really predicted, but I was praying and wishing and hoping that he knocked out Usman. I was saying how Usman's been a boring wrestler and whatnot, but this fight really surprised me, guys. Usman didn't go for a takedown the whole time. The whole 3 rounds, not one single takedown from the wrestler. So it ended up being a good little striking battle. Usman took the first round. He cut Parkins in the eyebrow on the first round, so I gave him that for damage. But other than that, volume stole rounds 2 and 3 for Mick Parkin. He hurt Usman with leg kicks and really just, the 1-2s and was just putting more volume and landed a lot more on Usman in the second and third round and was able to edge out the decision. But, I mean, I'm really impressed with Usman. I take back my statement from my video saying that he's boring. He is not boring. He did a good job at he lost, but he did a good job at making this a fun fight to watch. So I take it back, man. Good job on Usman. Not saying that you can't wrestle. I know it's the Ultimate Fighting Championship, not the Ultimate Striking Championship. But, I bitch about wrestlers and stuff. But I was really impressed. He didn't do one takedown in all 3 rounds. So that was, awesome. Good on him. But Parkins by decision was the final verdict on that one. Moving on to the 125-pound weight division, we got Igor Severino versus Andre Lima. Both these guys were off a Contender Series, I believe. It started out a good little fight in the first round. Seemed pretty even. Nice little fast 125er flyweights just slapping each other around. A little tiny bit of grappling here and there. And then second round, Severino got the hips of Lima, and they were up against the cage, and then the referee comes in and stops the fight. Guys, he fucking bit Andre Lima. He bit him right in the fucking arm. I've never seen anything like this in the UFC ever. At first they were saying, no, he bit him, and Severino was saying, no, I didn't bite him, and Lima, flexes his arm, and it looks like fucking Chucky bit him on the fucking arm. It's crazy. So yeah, DQ. Lima wins by disqualification, and by the time the main card hit, they had literally said that Dana has already cut the guy from the UFC. What a stupid decision. There's many ways out of a fight if you don't feel like you can win and you want to give up or whatever, but to bite the guy, you pretty much ruined, I think he ruined his whole career, man. It's going to be hard to get licensed by any athletic commission after this, I believe. You fucking bit him? I mean, come on. That's insane. So, yeah, moving on. In the women's bantamweight division, we have Montserrat Rendon versus Daria Zelezniakova. This fight was nothing to write home about, you guys. Zelezniakova won by decision. Rendon could not get the fight to the ground like she wanted to, and it kind of forced a striking battle. It was, somewhat boring. I mean, I'll watch any fight. I'll watch 2 bums fight over a cheeseburger, but, out of the rest of the fights on this card, this was really just bleh. But Zelezniakova by decision. Moving on to the 145-pound men's, Jarno Aarons versus Stephen Wen. This was possibly fight of the night, guys. This was a good war. I know that I said that Talbot versus Simon would be fight of the night, but we'll get to that later. Great war. Aarons took it on all 3 judges' scorecards, 30-27, but you wouldn't have known that by watching the fight. I mean, it was back and forth, a bloody back and forth. Just Aarons had more dog in him. Stephen Wen, it started out, he looked to be the more technical striker, but, just that dog inside of Aarons, he got in, he got his shots, and just made it a gritty, tough dog fight, and got the nod on all 3 judges' scorecards. So good on him. Going on to 135-pound men's division, Miles Johns versus Cody Gibson. I watched Cody Gibson on Ultimate Fighter, and I was really looking forward to this fight. I thought he could really push the pace and tire out Miles Johns, but it was a slow-paced battle, man, and Johns really outclassed him in all facets of MMA. Gibson showed toughness, and he was able to, keep it mostly standing up, but Johns was beating him there too, and with the slow pace of this fight, I feel like Johns was able to just dictate at his pace, which was, should have been the game plan for Gibson to come out and just push the pace, tire Johns out, and maybe get a finish. But I don't know. I don't know what's up with Gibson. He hasn't been really performing since he come off the Ultimate Fighter. I'm not really impressed with him. UFC could cut him, and I would not care, to be honest. So 30-27, Johns. Moving on to 145 pounds, Ricardo Ramos versus Julian Erosa. What a hell of a wicked awesome fight, guys. Ramos comes out and he nails Erosa with the hands. He stuns him bad. Ramos turns that into a takedown, gets him down. Erosa eventually gets up, and then Ramos stuns him again, and then he flies across the octagon and does like a Bill Goldberg fucking spear, man. Spears him right to the ground, but gets caught in a guillotine, and a wicked tight guillotine. He wraps him up. Erosa wraps him up in a guillotine, and Ramos taps within seconds, and the fight's over. So, Erosa was getting his ass handed to him. It looked like there was no way for Erosa to win the first couple minutes, and then next thing you know, he's choking out Ricardo Ramos. So, good on him. Good job, Erosa. Submission, round 1. Moving on to Kurt Holloway versus Trey Ogden at 155 pounds. Holloway won the Ultimate Fighter, Conor versus Chandler. He was kind of Chandler's champion in the Ultimate Fighter, and he come out against a tough Trey Ogden and realized that there are levels to this game. Ogden wouldn't let him win a round. He come out round 1. He dominates with top control. He was just better than Holloway everywhere. Round 2, Ogden pieces Kurt up with the jabs and the inside leg kick. Just takes the Ultimate Fighter winner down to the ground and just rapes him for the third round, and he wins a 30-27 on all 3 judges' scorecards. So Trey Ogden, look out for that guy at 155 pounds. All right, the UFC Vegas 89 main card started off in the 145-pound division. Fernando Padilla versus Luis Puello. Really good showing for Padilla, guys. Round starts out striking, and Padilla stuns Puello and pounces on him pretty much real quick, but you could just see the skill difference between Padilla and Puello. Fernando Padilla is like really long. He's 6'1", really long and fast for 145 pound, and in this little time he was able to showcase some striking as well as some grappling. I mean, he stuns Puello and tries to get him out of there with some ground and pound, but as he's punching, Puello uses the cage to get to his feet, and Padilla just reaches under and gets one of them long arm Darce chokes, really long arms, and just a standing Darce, and Puello taps faster than shit. I'm really looking, I got an asterisk next to Fernando Padilla's name here on my notes, because I think that he's going to be a pretty legit contender at 145 pounds. He's got a long frame, and, his striking looked great against I believe he's a championship boxer, Luis Puello is. So to stun him like that, to get him to the ground, and then to just sink in the Darce, he's just, within minutes, he was showcased, great stand-up and, submission ability. So look out for that guy. And then speaking of 145-pound division, we got Billy Quarantillo versus Yusuf Zalal. I did a predictions video on this one, guys, and I explained how Zalal was cut from the UFC a while back and fought his way back in, and this would be his second debut into the UFC. He's gotten a lot better. I said that in my video, that I thought it was going to be a resurgence, kind of like a Brandon Moreno type situation where he fights his way back in the UFC and it doesn't take him long to get to the top. And he showed it here. He pretty much ran through Billy Quarantillo, dominated the whole first round. He had the crispier striking, leg kicks, 1-2s to the body, 1-2s to the head. He stunned Billy Q wicked bad in the first round, and then got his back and almost choked him out. So I would say Zalal in the first round, I was calling it a 10-8 actually. And then round 2 comes out, and Zalal lands a nice little Pirion trip and gets Billy's back and wastes no time sinking in the rear naked choke. And Billy's a black belt in BJJ himself, so to just to just put it on Billy Quarantillo like that really shows that Yusuf Zalal has been working on, not only his striking but his grappling, and I think he's ready to showcase, all them skills this time around. And I don't think that I think you will see him in a title fight within the next year or so at 145 pounds. I know that 145 pounds is stacked, but I see him if he has the same energy going into future fights, I see him running right up to the top. Yeah, I don't know how that don't happen. He's looking really good. But going on to 135-pound division, Peyton Talbot versus Cameron Simon. I said in my video that this was going to be fight of the night. I had thought that Cameron Simon's gritty toughness and chin was going to carry him all 3 rounds, and he was going to be able to get his own shots and drag it to the ground a little bit and tire Peyton Talbot out. Was not the case. The only reason this was not fight of the night is because this was a one-sided ass-kicking by Peyton Talbot. I mean, Simon was super tough and tried getting his own shots in, but yeah, he nearly finished Simon with a really hard knee. And then in round 2, Talbot drops Cameron like a sack of potatoes with a punch, I believe it was. And Tyone steps in after a barrage of follow-up strikes, and some people could argue early stoppage. You could argue that Simon was just getting to his feet as Chris Tyone stepped in. But either way, I don't think Cameron Simon was winning this fight. Peyton Talbot is on another level, and you could see that right away, especially in the striking department, the movement, the distance control. Yeah, Peyton Talbot. I hope they don't push him too much. I hope they give him, quite a few fights before they try to just send him to the top like they do some of these other guys. 135 pounds stacked. I don't think he's ready for no Sean O'Malley or anything like that yet, but I do think he is championship material at 135 pounds. To take someone like Simon, who went 3 rounds with Christian Rodriguez, Christian Rodriguez couldn't get him out of there either, and he couldn't even go a round and a half with Peyton Talbot. I mean, this kid he's got something special, so watch out for Peyton Talbot. 185 pounds, Edmund Shabazian versus AJ Dobson. I mean, what can I not say about this fight? This was comeback of the night, in my opinion. I mean, Dobson comes out, he looks better at first, he's got the faster hands, and he ends up stunning and wobbling Edmund like multiple times. Edmund looked like he was on Queer Street for quite a while, and then out of nowhere he backs up Dobson against the cage and ends up landing a left, I think it was a left hook, it was with the hands, either way, and drops Dobson. He's got him against the cage and the ground in the corner, and he's got his hands and he's reaching up, just clocking on his chin, and ends up knocking him out cold. You could see his head kind of flopping against the ground as the referee stepped in and called this fight off. And I believe I called it in my video. My prediction was Shabazian by knockout. And it's exactly like I had said. Shabazian can beat the guys under him, but he cannot beat the guys above him. I don't think Shabazian's ready to be in the rankings yet. He's proven that when he gets pushed up to the top like that, he just loses. So I say we give him another tune-up fight, maybe one more, and if he can, perform well there, then he goes up into the rankings. But I think when they first got wind of Edmund Shabazian, they pushed him too fast up to the top. He might be ready now, though. But yeah, Edmund Shabazian by knockout in round 1. Moving on to the heavyweight division, Carl Williams versus Justin Tafa. It fucking happened again, guys. I got fucking duped by another fat ass. I wanted him to knock Williams out. He did do better than Tai Tuivasa. He did not get finished. It went all 3 rounds, but pretty much same story every round. Tafa comes out, gets his hands on Carl Williams. Carl Williams is wobbling. He's punch drunk. He's shooting in for the legs, wobbling and just grabbing a leg and ripping Tafa to the ground. Tafa, finishes out the round trying to get to his feet, but get drugged back down. Carl Williams did land a little bit of ground and pound, but I mean, I would even give some of the rounds to Tafa just by the stand-up, just by how desperate Carl Williams was to get this to the ground once he got hit. It's not even like it was like he came out looking for a takedown, like it was part of the game plan. I mean, he got hit and said, "Oh my God, I better grab him." He was wobbling everywhere and pretty much just holding on to Tafa as he fell and bringing him down with him. Yeah, I just think there's a really big difference when you get to judging some of these fights when Tafa's coming out and he's cracking you so hard that the only option you have is a desperation takedown. I don't know that you give very much points to the guy. If he's getting cracked and he's just desperately taking the guy down because it's his only option, and then he's holding you down like he don't want you to get up because he's scared to get punched. I mean, you're not fighting to win at that point. You're fighting to not lose. So I hope some of the judges start taking this shit into consideration. I mean, you can lay on somebody all you want all day long, but it doesn't mean you're beating them up. So, I mean, take it for what it is. I got duped again by another fat fuck. Carl Williams by decision. All right, now on to the main event of the evening in the women's strawweight division. Thug Rose Namajunas versus Amanda Ribas. Guys, this was a really good fight. How could you not be happy for Rose Namajunas? I mean, finally getting back in the win column, winning the decision. I mean, she pretty much outclassed Amanda Ribas. It was a really good technical battle on the feet. Ribas had a lot of beautiful trips and throws, but every time Rose would land on top and gain top control, which I believe was winning her those rounds that ended on the ground. But other than that, I mean, on the feet, Ribas had a hard time hitting Rose. Rose would either block him or step to the side, angle out, and throw her own beautiful straights from some pretty nice angles. I wanted to see more of that Pat Barry kickboxing out of Rose. I was hoping she would throw the front kick and knock Ribas out. But other than that, I gave Rose every single round except round 3, where Amanda Ribas actually threw Rose to the ground in like a judo throw and landed on top and got her in like a scarf hold. Rose tried to roll out of that, and Ribas got her back, and the round ended with Ribas on Rose's back. So, but other than that, Rose won round 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So, go Rose, getting a win in strawweight. At least I think she'll be in the rankings come Tuesday or Wednesday. She should be in the top 15 of the strawweight division. So finally back in the win column. Thug Rose Namajunas. How can you not root for her? I mean, she's a fan favorite for sure. So hopefully she gets a favorable matchup in her next fight, and we get to see her continue this win pattern.